YouTube. Awesome, we are live. Oops, daisy. Good morning, it is October the 8th and this is AI with Kyle. I'm going to be walking through the daily AI news and updates, keeping us on track with what is happening in the world of artificial intelligence. It's been a busy week so far with OpenAI. It's a relatively quieter day today. We are hearing rumours, however, that Gemini 3, Gemini 3? Yeah, we're on 2.5 at the moment. Gemini 3 is going to be released tomorrow, Thursday. These are just rumours, but that is what's circulating at the moment as a possible release. So it's never a quiet week in artificial intelligence. Today though, slightly quieter. We've got some exciting news from Google, got some stuff from Anthropic, as well as a few strange stories like people replicating Robin Williams and Robin Williams' daughter telling them to please stop doing that. And I'm also going to point you in the direction of a couple of cool resources that are being released and are launching around about now. Let's actually start off with, if I can find it, at the Dev Day talk a few days ago, the OpenAI Dev Day, at one point they pulled up a screen. It's a very strange screen. It had lots of names on it. It was almost like showing your Patreon supporters. These are the people who support us. And it kind of was that in a way. It was showing the people who had processed the most amount of tokens on OpenAI, so the heaviest users of OpenAI's API using ChatGPT or GPT models. And there's a long list of names and they weren't necessarily recognizable. So at the top is Isaac Anderson, Alex Atala, Chris Colon, John Emmons, Hojak Gill, etc. So somebody took all those names and researched who they worked for and then used that to work out what companies were using OpenAI the most. I'm not sure if anyone at OpenAI expected this research to be done, but it has been done. So Isaac Anderson, for example, he is a senior software engineer at Duolingo. So Duolingo are, according to this, one of the top users of OpenAI's API. They're going hard into using ChatGPT and adding that into their product mix. So you can use AI to talk with the Duolingo. After that, we have things like OpenRouter. We have Indeed.com, the job platform, Salesforce, CodeRabbit, iSolutions AI. I'm not sure what that is. Outtake, Tiger Analytics, Ramp, Abridge, Side AI, Warp.dev, Shopify at number 13. Interesting. Then followed by Notion. So it's powering Notion under the hood. Whoop, HubSpot, etc., etc. And it goes on like this. Oh, Canva are 25th. Very interesting. And Cognition. So the highest use, if this is in order, we're not sure. Actually, it's not in order because that is alphabetical. So it's broken down by 1 trillion tokens, 100 billion tokens, and 10 billion tokens. So number one is not actually Duolingo. Whoever's put together this graphic is wrong here. That's not what's going on here. It's all of the people in the 1 trillion, then alphabetized, and all of the people in the 100 billion, then alphabetized. So they've got it slightly wrong here. But it looks like Duolingo and Salesforce, Shopify, Notion, Whoop are some of the largest customers of ChatGPT. I'm not sure if this is exactly what OpenAI wanted to reveal, but I think it's relatively interesting. So this data you will see circulating at the moment. But if anyone does say to you, oh, Duolingo are the top customer of OpenAI, that is not true. It's just one software engineer, Isaac Anderson, is using a huge amount at Duolingo, but he is not actually the number one. He just happens to have a surname beginning with an A. So do be careful there, because I'm sure you'll see this graph going around a bit. Just looking at what questions we have today. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for the likes. Oh, 700. Wow. Okay. Claude. This is very cool. It seems to be a rumor, but testing catalog news on Twitter is often right. It's a verifiable source. So breaking news, Anthropic is preparing Claude Code, which is one of the best coding tools at the moment, probably the best, to be released on the mobile app. Exciting. Users will be able to connect Claude app, so the one on your telephone, to GitHub and run their coding prompts on the go. Now, any of you who do any vibe coding or coding will know how exciting this is. At the same time, I worry a bit because I mean, last night, for example, I was up vibe coding a website until 11 p.m, later than that, and then couldn't sleep because I was still running through all the problems. It's quite useful to be able to step away from the computer and stop building. Now I can't, because I'll be able to access Claude Code directly on my phone. You could have done it before through SSH. You can kind of wire into your server and send commands back and forward. However, they're going to make it extremely easy directly in the Claude app to use Claude Code. So it's exciting, but also a little bit worrying, because it's going to mean people who are building are going to not be able to turn off. We're never going to be able to switch off because we can always be building more and more and more. So full scoop, let's have a look. Anthropic prepares a code section on the web and mobile with GitHub integration, repository browsing, and Claude Code tasks tailored to developers. I mean, Claude Code is probably their killer tool. Whilst OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT, are releasing all sorts of things, so video, a new agent platform, what else have they released in the last few weeks? Oh, shopping, they're adding in, the agent SDK, they're adding a huge amount of things all over the place. Anthropic increasingly are just focusing on code and Claude Code and narrowing their focus on being the best at one thing instead of spreading their focus and doing a huge amount of things and seeing what sticks. So I really rate Anthropic for this. Early glimpses suggest the experience closely follows the direction established by OpenAI's Codex integration inside ChatGPT, focusing on enabling background cloud code tasks, seamless prompt PR workflows, and mobile-first access to automated coding utilities. So very, very, very cool. I imagine this will only be on the Max version of Claude, at least initially. Oh, yeah, it will only be on the Max version. So it'll only be on the, how much is it? Is it $200 a month? I get it for free, so I think it's about $200 a month. But that is a small cost compared to the productivity that you get with something like Claude Code. Anthropic, traditionally more conservative with feature releases compared to competitors, yes, very, is now experimenting with deeper integration for Pro and Max subscribers. Yeah, so they are aiming for the high end of the market, whereas ChatGPT and OpenAI are aiming for mass market. So things like Sora is really good at going viral, but it's arguably not that useful. And I'm thinking a lot of people are coming to that realization, like, oh, what do we actually use this for? It's kind of cool, but I mean, are we going to be using it in 6 months? Probably not. Whereas Anthropic are focusing on code and actually being really useful. So they're going in a very different direction to OpenAI. Joshua, good morning. Watching from the airport at 5 a.m. Far too early. Oh, good morning, Helen, as well. And yes, the grind continues, Joshua. It never stops. So, Anthropic, I'd be very interested to see what they come out with. I'm a little bit worried for my sanity and my mental health if I can, be lying in bed and think, oh, actually, maybe I could do this, and I could quickly pull up Claude Code, send some messages. It's going to be terrible. I'm going to have to be protect my time and sanity. All right, here's a. You've probably seen this. This is the kind of popular news story that's going on at the moment. So it's popping up on the BBC, I'm sure in America, on CNN, etc., which is about Robin Williams' daughter has asked people to please stop sending her images of her father, who passed very sadly a couple of years back. So you can't libel the dead, but that doesn't mean you should deep fake them. It's an article by TechCrunch, which I thought was a good discussion of what's going on here. So Zelda Williams, daughter of the late actor Robin Williams, has a poignant message for her father's fans. Please, just stop sending me AI videos of Dad. Stop believing I want to see it or that I'll understand. I don't and I won't. She wrote in a post on her Instagram story on Monday. If you've got any decency, just stop doing this to him and to me and to everyone, full stop. It's dumb, it's a waste of time and energy, and believe me, it's not what he'd want. It's probably not a coincidence that Williams was moved to post this just days after the release of OpenAI's Sora 2 video maker and the Sora social app, which gives users the power to generate highly realistic deepfakes of themselves, their friends, and certain cartoon characters. So it sounds like after the release of Sora, which was last week Monday, a lot of people got it into their head that, oh, I know what the daughter of Robin Williams would like. She'd like to see her father brought back to life by this application. And I'm sure it is well-meaning. I'm sure they did videos that they thought would be very poignant for her, but you have to see it from her point of view, because she was probably being sent hundreds, if not thousands, of these videos, maybe of her and her father together. And yeah, she's pushed back and said, guys, stop it. It's gross, basically. And for the love of everything, stop calling it the future. This is her, Zelda. AI is just badly recycling and regurgitating the past to be reconsumed. You are taking in the human centipede of content, and from the very, very end of the line. All while the folks at the front laugh and laugh, consume and consume. Yeah. So they have, as of earlier this week, they have restricted the ability to add celebrities. They've restricted the ability to add cartoon characters, anime, Disney characters, etc., etc. Whereas last week it was an absolute free-for-all. I think this is on purpose. There's a couple of things going on here. When a new model comes out, a new video model or a new image model, generally it will be at the most unrestricted it's ever been. I think this is on purpose because it allows for that viral moment. So remember when OpenAI had the Studio Ghibli moment where everyone was creating Studio Ghiblis of themselves, and then a week or so later they're like, no, you can't do that anymore. That's not allowed. They allow it to run for long enough so that there's a viral moment, so that whatever the video or the image maker is has visibility. And they allowed that to happen last week with Sora. And then this week they're like, oh no, you can't do that. I'm pretty sure they had that switch ready to flip already. They'd already coded it in. We know how to shut this down, but we're just going to wait. We're going to give it a week. We're going to let this play out. We're going to own the headlines for the whole week, which they did. And then we'll shut it down. And that leads to a backlash, but you only really see it on Reddit and Twitter with people saying, oh, it used to be good and now it's censored, etc. This happens every single time with every single video model and every single image model. So don't be surprised. What OpenAI are also talking about, which is a new twist, is licensed content. So the ability for Disney or for John Cena, he probably belongs to Disney at this point, or for, an anime, to license their characters to Sora and to allow them to be generated as an official cameo. And Sam Altman also talked about potential revenue sharing, which would obviously be the reason why any of these companies would participate. So yeah, I can very much see where Zelda Williams is coming from. And it must have been a very upsetting week for her and very gross. And this is, I believe, this is speculation, but this comes from the fact that these companies like OpenAI always allow a lot of liberal usage during the first week or so, and then they cut it down. And even things like this, even the story, even Zelda Williams pushing back, this is more publicity. This gets the name Sora out there. So even this works in their favor. Just hopping over to questions. Good morning, everybody. I'll have some water. You have great content, but lives aren't good. Lives thrive on interaction. Yeah, Ches, I do it in between the sections, so calm down, goodness me. The reason why your views are lower because you barely read the chat, you just talk like a lecture. So what I do, this is for Ches, but for everybody, is I'm doing a news show at the same time. I'm just doing the news show live. So I read the AI news for myself every morning. So the basic idea is, well, why don't I just do that as a live show so I can capture it for YouTube? So that's what's happening over on the left hand screen. I have a YouTube capture and that goes onto YouTube. That becomes the basis of a newsletter that I put out every single day, and between the sections I hop over to the live. So yeah, you're right, this is not primarily for you, Ches. This is also part of a larger workflow for YouTube and for the newsletter and for repurposed shorts, etc, etc. So it's for a number of different things. I know that the lives are never going to be as popular as the other lives on TikTok. I'll put it bluntly, I'm not a sexy young woman. If you scroll through them all, the people who have thousands and thousands of viewers are a very specific demographic. I'm not in it. So that's not what this is for. The lives are basically a function of what I'm doing anyway, which is reading the news, which I do for myself, but I just do it live so I can capture it onto camera because it's part of a workflow. So yes, thank you for your criticism, but it's actually not really important. Joshua says, you've inspired me to document the journey of vibe coding my app. Nice. Day one will be posted today. So the second stream that I do, which Ches would also hate, I'm sure, is a vibe coding stream where I'm building something in public. And today is day 28 out of 30. So I'm going to be launching it on Saturday, the application I've been building, and then hopefully taking it to market and making some money. Joshua, awesome. What are you going to be building? And what are you building it in is the big question. Because I know there's so many tools out there. I've been using Lovable for my vibe coding project, but there are so many good ones out there, including Claude Code, for example. Adam, drop a code. I don't have any Sora codes left. However, I've built a guide which shows you how to get in. If you're in the US, there's a workaround. And if you're not in the US, you can still access it. Using a VPN and the browser-based version, and then I've given 3 different sources for where you can get a code. If you look at one of my other videos, look in the comments and you should see a link that I've posted. That's going to be the best place. I sent those comments back. I'm actually gonna get rid of you, Ches, because you're a bummer. No offense, but have a lovely day. Bye. Awesome. Yeah, Joshua, I'd love to make sure you share that. I'd love to see what you're doing and what you're building. And I mean, you're in the WhatsApp group with the rest of us, and there's some great builders in there. People who know far more than me, people like Marcin. Have you checked out his school as well? So it's going to be a really useful resource. Okay. Speaking of vibe coding, let's look at Google Opal. So Opal released today. They've expanded its release, so they're going a lot slower than a lot of the other releases we see, but I think this is for good reasons. So what they're doing is test markets. So Opal, which is a vibe coding app directly from Google. So this is if you're Lovable, if you are Base 44, God, what are the other ones called? Bolt, V0, Replete, etc. If you are one of those companies and you see a company like Google entering with their own offering, it's a bit scary because it will probably be free. Well, it is free for now, and it's going to be something that's going to scare the hell out of you if you are one of those startups. So Google is pushing into vibe coding with something called Opal, OPAL. So they've expanded access to Opal to 15 more countries. The app, which allows you to create mini web apps using text prompts. Now this is an interesting twist. In the official announcement too, they also refer to it as a mini app builder. So they're not calling it a vibe coding app, they're calling it a mini app builder, which is interesting. We'll talk about why. And it is now available in Canada, India, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia, Brazil, Singapore, Colombia, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, Honduras, Argentina, and Pakistan. So they are expanding out the reach. Previously it was in the US, and now it is going to those other countries, and then eventually it will become globally available. So when we opened up Opal to users in the US, we anticipated they might build simple, fun tools. So again, this mini app idea. They think it's only for creating mini apps. I don't know why they're restricting themselves. Said Megan Lee, a senior product manager at Google Labs, in a blog post. We didn't expect the surge of sophisticated, practical, and highly creative Opal apps we got instead. The ingenuity of these early adopters made one thing clear: we need to get Opal into the hands of more creators globally. Now, some of this might be marketing, obviously, but this is part of the rollout. You start with a small market and then you expand out. So Opal works by getting users to enter a description of the app they want to make, after which the tool uses different Google models, Gemini, to do so. Once the app is ready, the users can open the editor panel to view and customize the visual workflow of inputs, outputs, and generation steps. So it is, I'm going to switch over. When you look at it, it looks a lot like N8N, and it looks a lot like the new agent builder or the agent kit that OpenAI released a few days ago. However, unlike the OpenAI, the ChatGPT agent kit, you start with text. You start by talking to it and explaining what it is you want to build. This is something that I don't understand why OpenAI did not add. The new agent builder from OpenAI kind of falls in between two different worlds. It's not easy enough for a total newbie to use because you need to work out your workflow, and you need to add information into each step. But it's also not sophisticated enough for a proper developer to use because they don't want to use drag and drop. They want to have more control. So the agent builder's kind of fallen in this weird middle, and I'm not sure who's going to use it. What they should have done, well, in my opinion, is allowed you to start with text. So allowed you to say, hey, what I want to build is this, an application that does X, Y, Z. It takes inputs from here. It collects up information from the user, and it spits out blah, 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 blah. That's what I think the agent builder should have done. They did not do that, but Opal does. So Opal starts with a chat interface, which, considering all these companies are building chatbots, kind of makes sense. You start with chat, you discuss the project, and then from there it builds out the framework, it builds out the different modules, and then you can dive into it and start to tweak them. No idea why OpenAI didn't do this, but Opal is. So Opal are not calling it a vibe coding tool, they're not calling it an agent builder, but instead they're calling it a mini app builder. I'm not sure why, because you could build relatively sophisticated things with this, and I don't see why they are limiting themselves in this case. I can understand why they might not want to call it a vibe coding tool, because there are connotations connected to it, and lots of developers are like, they're a bit snooty about it. So staying out of that market, staying out of that terminology kind of makes sense. They're also not calling it an agent tool, which I think is fair. Arguably, what OpenAI released the other day is mainly a workflow tool and an automation tool that has some agentic capability. So I think this looks very exciting, and I can't wait to get access to it. You can try it at opal.withgoogle.com. Oh, let's see, I might be able to get into it. Yeah, no, I don't have access. I do actually have a Connect that I need to talk to. I need to send an email because I'd love to play around with this. So this looks really cool. Of course, Google have a reputation of launching things and then not necessarily seeing them through. They throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. But this, I mean, it looks great. And I was a little bit disappointed by the agent builder from OpenAI. This also, I know it's a minor thing, but this looks a lot nicer, like the design. Is Opal in the UK? No, not yet. And it's also only on Google Labs. So you need to get an invite code. So it is not fully released yet. What you can do though with Google Labs, I'm not sure if you can with this one. And generally they have a wait list in order to get in. I believe I need to talk to somebody because I have been offered access to this. I just haven't sent the email back, which is bad. I will do that and then I will cover it. Do you know the exact reason why Sora is not released in the UK? Yeah, it's the EU AI Act. So the EU has the strictest regulations about artificial intelligence, and especially to do with things like deepfakes and the use of private information to create digital avatars, for example. So face scanning and voice recordings, which is exactly what Sora Cameo does. So the EU AI Act is very, very strict on that kind of thing. Because the UK does not yet have its own rules about AI, in the same way that post-Brexit we haven't worked out our frameworks for an awful lot of things. We just use the EU ones as the base default. So we kind of align with the EU AI Act for the most part. Or at least that's how the AI companies over in America treat us. So we tend to get it at exactly the same time as in Europe. So with Sora 1, for example, it released on, I think it was December 2024. in the US, and then we didn't get it in the UK and the EU until February. So we saw a 3-month gap. We might see something similar this time. However, I think the EU AI Act came into force in January 2025. I'm terrible at dates, but I think it was early, so it was in that period. So maybe that caused some more confusion as well. So potentially we'll get it faster. However, you can get into Sora from the UK. I've been using it extensively. I ran out of credits yesterday. The way to do that is you use the browser version, because you cannot download the app because it doesn't exist in our app store. You use the browser version at sora.chatgpt.com, and you use a VPN to go to America, sign into sora.chatgpt.com, and then you can use an invite code and you can get in. Okay, so we can access it. It's just you need a bit of a workaround because the app is not available. Why is the EU Act so limiting and Luddite-like? Protection, basically, trying to protect EU interests. Yeah, unfortunately, AI is a technology that moves so fast that any laws, any regulation is always going to be behind. So they started writing the EU AI, the EU AI Act. Good God, it's like old MacDonald had a farm. EU AI Act. They started writing it. But by the time they'd finished it and actually released it and it had been signed off by everybody, we'd gone from like GPT 3.5 to GPT 4.0 and 5 released shortly afterwards. So the speed at which AI moves is much, much, much faster than the speed at which any regulations can move. And that is going to continue to be an issue. Laws cannot move it as fast as AI, which is in part why a lot of the AI companies are just rushing ahead, and they're taking the move fast and break stuff philosophy, and pay legal fees afterwards, after the fact, after you've made a mess and after you've broken the laws or stolen material. Just pay them off later, because from a practical point of view, they cannot wait for these laws to be set in stone, because while they're doing that, other companies are just rushing ahead, or other countries like China. Hey Shane from the Philippines, how are you doing? Awesome. So covered Opal, looked at Robin Williams' daughter. A couple of resources, because it's a relatively slow day in the world of AI. I mean, it's still very fast. There's still a lot to talk about. I wanted to call out a course. It's over on deeplearning.ai. Deeplearning.ai in general is a fantastic resource. I'll actually pull up the whole thing. Deep Learning. So deeplearning.ai has a whole load of courses on it, starting with very basic ones about generative AI for everyone, LLMs for everyone, etc. But then much more sophisticated courses. And Andrew has just announced an agentic AI course. And I've had a look at it and it looks very, very good. It's also extremely good timing on Andrew's part, releasing it just after the release of OpenAI's Agent Builder. So I'd highly recommend having a look at this. The only prerequisite is a familiarity with Python, although knowing a little bit about LLMs helps. So definitely have a look at that and everything else on their site as well. A quick tip here. If you go through their course catalog and you click and you follow through, you'll be sent to Coursera. Is it Coursera or Udemy? It's Coursera. I always mix it up. It will try to get you to pay. So you can get them for free, but you need to audit the course. So if you do not want to pay, then you go to the bottom at Coursera and there'll be a little hidden away, at least a bit sneaky about this, there'll be a little link which allows you to audit the course for free. You lose the ability to do the assessments and you lose the ability to get a certificate at the end. If that is important to you, obviously pay for it, but it will allow you to kind of enroll and to at least preview the content. And if money is tight, then you can get access to all of the materials without paying. So deeplearning.ai is the site which hosts the catalog, but then they are built in Coursera themselves, and Coursera will try to charge you. So you just need to be a bit sneaky if you want to order the course. Hey Oli, how are you doing? Good morning. What do you think of Go High Level? I cannot actually comment because I've never used it myself. I'm working with a group of people and we're putting together a conference right now, and they're using Go High Level, and I respect their opinion. They know what they're talking about, and they all use it. So based on that, I'd say probably quite good, but I haven't actually used it myself, so I can't give my own opinion. And the second resource I wanted to point out is Anthropic have, I believe it's new because I only just saw an announcement. They have anthropic.com/learn. They have a new Anthropic Academy. So it's a bit like the ChatGPT Academy, but unlike the ChatGPT Academy, it's actually got some order to it. If you've gone to the ChatGPT or the OpenAI Academy, you'll know that it's an absolute mess. They've just thrown a huge amount of content at it, and it's kind of hard to see where you're meant to go. The Claude Academy, on the other hand, looks a lot more ordered and sophisticated. It's also beautifully designed, as with everything Anthropic. So I just wanted to flag this up, as it looks like a nice additional resource. So it's anthropic.com/learn, and they have AI fluency for students, teaching AI fluency. That's cool. AI fluency for educators, building with the Claude API, Claude Code in action. If you want to start using Claude Code, you should, especially before the mobile app launch. Introduction to MCP, advanced MCP, blah, 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 blah. So go and have a look at it and tell me what you think. I just wanted to flag it up as another free resource which can allow you to kind of get hold of what the hell is going on, because everything is moving so fast. Is it free? Yes, it's free. So Anthropic are kind of the good guys in the AI world. Well, I mean, no, they still have contracts with Palantir, don't they? So let's not get too excited. But they are generally, they're very good at educating. They're very good at keeping everybody apprised of what's going on. So definitely check that out. Cool. There was another story. No, I don't think that's very interesting. As I said, it's a relatively quiet day in the world of AI, but we did have the Dev Day a couple of days ago, and we may potentially have a Google model dropping. The rumor is tomorrow, so we're going to be back in it with more news very shortly. But I'm going to wrap up this particular live, and I'm going to switch over to my second live, where I'm going to be building in public. It's day number 28 out of 30, building an AI application using Lovable from scratch and launching it. And I only have a couple of days left, so wish me luck. I'm also building only 1 hour a day, which it pains me and it frustrates me because I want to keep building and I like building, but I want to show that anybody can build an application, anybody can build a piece of software using these tools. Using natural language, I literally talk through my microphone to the tool, and I want to show that this is something that you can do as well. So it is day 28 out of 30, and I'll be starting that live stream soon. If you are watching on TikTok, definitely hop over to YouTube. You can watch on TikTok, but you're going to be looking at the back camera, pointing at the screen, and it's no good. Whereas on YouTube, you get to see it in 4K, 60 frames per second, full screen, the whole shebang. Also, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. We are slowly growing. As I complain about it every day, it's very slow. We're nearly at 7,000 subscribers. Getting there, but wow, it's slow. And you'll find all of the videos from the daily lives are chopped up and posted on YouTube. There is also a written newsletter which comes out daily, which is based on the previous day's live, giving you an update of what's going on in text format, as well as links to any resources. So, for example, the Anthropic Academy we just talked about, I'll give you a link to that so you can find it nice and easily, as well as the deep learning. I'll probably do a little guide about how to get those deep learning courses for free as well. So make sure you're subscribed in the newsletter. Apart from that, thank you so much, and I will see you on tomorrow's live.